The Bitcoin tourist valley of death is where dreams of quick riches and fast wealth go to die. This is where most Bitcoin tourists get trapped and they get all of their money taken from them. In this video, I want to go into this in depth. Let's get started. There's a really great quote from Warren Buffett. He said that the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. And what he means here is that money is transferred from people who become fearful, people who are scared of volatility, people who can't handle the prices of the assets that they buy going up and down. So those people buy assets at the top when everybody is greedy, everybody is euphoric, everybody wants to buy everything, and then they sell at the bottom when everybody is fearful, when only the strongest investors, the people who have the strongest willpower, are the ones who are buying, but everybody else is selling. And what's happening here is that wealth is moving from the people who are impatient, who have bought a stock for a reason other than really valuing the company a certain way. Maybe they bought it because of a cult following. Maybe they bought it because of a post on Reddit. Maybe they bought it because their favorite investor told them to. And whatever the thesis was around the stock hasn't been fulfilled yet. So let's say, for example, they think that the stock is going to go up and they haven't done the research, and the person who told them it's going to go up is very well known in the investment space. They know what they're doing. They say that the stock is going to go up, but in the short term, it comes down. When that stock comes down, most tourists, most people who are impatient, most people who are only in it for a quick dollar are probably going to sell because they're going to think that the stock is going to go even lower because they don't quite understand what that stock is. They don't understand that the value that that stock is providing. They are very impatient because if they don't sell the stock, they believe that the stock will go lower. They think that the stock is going to go to zero. And how exactly does this apply to Bitcoin? What is this Bitcoin tourist valley of death? So now let me take you to the Bitcoin price. You can see here, this is a chart that shows you Bitcoin's price. These lines are basically the price of Bitcoin at every 1 hour mark. So if I zoom in here, I'll zoom in. Each one of these bars shows you what happened to Bitcoin's price in the span of 1 hour. So I'll zoom in a little bit more just to show you what exactly I'm looking at. We can see here, there's a red bar, there's a green bar. The Bitcoin tourists can't handle the downward movements. The red bars are where Bitcoin's price goes down. This is called a candlestick chart. The top of this bar is where Bitcoin's price started for that trading session, for that hour. The bottom is where it closed, and then the lines at the top and bottom are called wicks. So what this means is that aside from the price going from here to here, the highest price of Bitcoin was all the way at the top of this wick. So these lines that you see at the very top of that bar, above that bar. And what you'll see if you hover above any of these candles is the open price, the high price, the low price, and the close price. So let's take a look at an example here. You can see this was a bar from Monday, September 15th, 2025 at 4 p.m. So 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now let's zoom in so that we can see exactly what happened. It seems like there was no wick. It seems like Bitcoin's price just went straight down. You can see here, it opened here, it closed here, and there was barely a wick down here. So if I zoom in a little bit more, you can probably see it. You can see here, it just went straight down. So what you see here is that Bitcoin's price maybe dropped very quickly. It fell and it didn't recover in that hour. And what this does to the psychology of a Bitcoin tourist is it destroys it. It destroys their mindset. It makes them so fearful that they sell everything that they have. So we can see here, this bar opened at $115,000. You can see that here, $115,856.01. The high for this bar was $115,856.03. The low was $114,734.11, and the close was $114,763.40. So within this hour, within this bar, Bitcoin's price opened at a certain price. Then it went all the way up to a high, whatever that high was for this bar, it was 115,856. And then it went all the way down to a low of 114,000. So that's the bottom of this wick here. And then it closed at a slightly higher price, $114,763, which is the bottom edge of this rectangle. Now, if we zoom out, we can see exactly what these bars turn into. They basically turn into a line that shows you where Bitcoin's price is trending or where it's been going for the last little while. So we can see here, if we zoom out a little bit, the price went all the way up to 124,533. Then it came all the way down to 107,213. And we can look at this in different intervals. So let's say if we look at it in a monthly interval, and if we take a look at August, we can see here that it opened at $115,756. The high was at $124,533. The low, so down here, the bottom of this wick was $107,369, and the close was at $108,247. Most tourists can't handle this. They can't handle Bitcoin falling from 124,000 all the way down to $107,000. Bitcoin is extremely painful for people who don't understand it. It's extremely painful because of these movements, because of this volatility. When you look at the stock market, it doesn't have this kind of volatility. It doesn't move this way. It is volatile over longer periods of time. But what Bitcoin does is it just rips off the band-aid immediately, and it doesn't have those moments where you're just seeing it move sideways and doing nothing. Even when Bitcoin is moving sideways, when people will say that Bitcoin is doing nothing, it's still extremely volatile. The red bars are the ones where the top of the bar is the open and the bottom of the bar is the close. The green bars are the ones where the bottom of the bar is the open and the top of the bar is the close. So we can see here in July of 2025, Bitcoin's price opened at $107,173. The high was $123,231. The low was $105,119. And the close was $115,761.13. So in this period of time, even though Bitcoin's price went from this bottom all the way to the top and then it closed slightly higher than where it was to begin with, it's still up 8.01% within a month. But then the very next month, you can see it's down 6.49%. And then the very next month, September, when I'm filming, this video may come out in October, but Bitcoin is up 5.73% for the month. If you're a Bitcoin tourist, the only parts that you're going to pay attention to are the ones where Bitcoin's price is going up. And at some point in that time while Bitcoin's going up, you're probably going to end up buying. You're going to get greedy just like everybody else in the market. You're going to become impatient. You're going to think that Bitcoin's price is going to go up forever. And then Bitcoin has this really powerful way of punishing you for being impatient. Most of the time, Bitcoin is either going down or sideways. Once Bitcoin reaches these tops, it doesn't stay there for a very long time. So, for example, Bitcoin's price reached an all-time high of $124,533. That was on August 13th, 2025, around 8:30 p.m. So it reached that price and then it started coming down. It was there for less than half an hour. The Bitcoin tourists are only focused on that half hour of pricing and they don't care about zooming out. They don't care about what happened to Bitcoin over the last year, over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years, over the last 15 years. All they care about is getting rich quick. And again, these people get punished. They get wrecked. That's where the Bitcoin valley of death comes in. If you're a Bitcoin tourist, you're probably going to find out about Bitcoin at the top. You're going to buy, and then you're going to see your investment lose value for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, or even a few years because Bitcoin's price reaches a top and then it comes down. It stays below that price the majority of the time. You can see here, it reached 124,000 in August of 2025. It was there for half an hour, and then it came all the way back down to $125,000 on September 1st of 2025. So it was at that top for less than half an hour, and then it went all the way back down to $107,000, which you can see was the same price from July 2025. Or if we go back a little bit, May of 2025. And most people can't handle that. Most people just want Bitcoin for when it's going up. They don't want Bitcoin for when it's moving sideways. They don't want Bitcoin for when it's coming down. Most Bitcoin tourists see their investment go sideways or go down. They sell and then they get bored and they stop paying attention. and they lose out on the next leg up. So the Bitcoin tourist valley of death is where the tourists come in, they see the price come down, and then they leave. They no longer want to be Bitcoiners because they just went through the worst investment experience of their life. No other investment falls 15 to 20% within less than a month. But you have to look at this from the other side as well. While Bitcoin's price can fall 15 to 20% in a few days, it can also rise 15 to 20% in a few days. It can rise more than 15 to 20% in a few days. You can see here that in November of 2024, Bitcoin's price went all the way from $66,783 to $99,860 within 30 days. And again, you can see that trend where Bitcoin's prices moved sideways for the previous few months. It went from $73,835 at the top in March of 2024, all the way down to $49,050 in August of 2024. This is the valley of death. This is where all of the Bitcoin tourists who bought at the top sold at the bottom because of fear, because they thought Bitcoin was going to zero. And now these people will probably never buy Bitcoin again because they're scarred and they can't handle the volatility. They can't handle going through the exact same thing again. What makes it so difficult for the Bitcoin tourists who don't quite understand Bitcoin to hold on to Bitcoin and to become actual Bitcoiners is their lack of understanding. If you don't understand what's happening to an asset, you're very likely going to sell. If you don't truly understand the value of something, you're going to get rid of it. You're going to give it away, just like that example that I gave you of somebody listening to someone else and buying a stock and then selling as soon as the price comes down because they start doubting whoever they listened to in the first place. The best way to get out of the Bitcoin tourist valley of death is to study Bitcoin, to understand what it is, to go through multiple cycles. And when you're looking at the price, zoom out. This is the Bitcoin and crypto market fear and greed analysis. We can see right now that it's at neutral. Just a few days ago, the market was fearful about Bitcoin's future. You can see here, September 26th, the fear and greed index was at 28. The data for September 26th, I think, is a result of what happened on September 25th. You can see here that the price went from $113,561 all the way down to $108,623. In one day, Bitcoin's price dropped 3.8%. And of course, that's what leads to a lot of fear. When people see that Bitcoin's price is falling, they think it'll fall a lot more and they want to get rid of what they have because they want to buy back lower. Once you understand what Bitcoin is and once you understand the true value of Bitcoin, you can see that this thing is going to go up forever. I personally never plan to sell my Bitcoin. I plan to keep my Bitcoin for as long as I possibly can because I know that over time it will continue to go up. The US dollar price of Bitcoin is a distraction, it's a fake. It has no real meaning because the US dollar can be created out of thin air. Most people still don't understand what Bitcoin is. 99% of the world does not have a significant allocation to Bitcoin. And this is why Bitcoin's price isn't much higher than where it is today. Once people do figure out what Bitcoin is, they're not going to want to hold on to US dollars. They're going to get rid of their US dollars and they're going to take as much Bitcoin as they possibly can in exchange for their US dollars. As the supply of US dollars getting added to the market increases and the supply of Bitcoin available to be bought decreases, the price per Satoshi is going to go way higher than where it is today. At the time of this recording, Bitcoin's price is at about $114,000 or so. And I guarantee you that in 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to be looking back at this content, at this video specifically, and saying that I wish I bought more at $114,000. So don't be a tourist, study Bitcoin and figure out how it works because Bitcoin's price is going to rise forever. If you sell your Bitcoin, you're eventually going to regret it, whether you make money or not. Some people make money with their Bitcoin, they increase their net worth, but then they get rid of it and then they have no exposure to Bitcoin anymore. And they see that their Bitcoin denominated net worth is decreasing over time. When you choose to sell your Bitcoin for US dollars, you are actively making a bet that a piece of paper that can be printed is going to increase in value faster than the scarcest form of money in the world. Don't make this decision because at some point you're going to regret it. Don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to your family. Make sure that you hold on to your Bitcoin for as long as possible. At some point, your Bitcoin is going to be worth so much that you're not going to know what to do with it. You still don't have to sell it. You can borrow against your Bitcoin. And I made a video about that exact topic. You can watch that video here.